Hi, my name is Paul Sherman, and I'm here with Acting Texas, and here to interview Kristine Canterbury, who's a headshot photographer, meaning that she's not only a photographer, but she focuses on headshots and has a lot of experience. In fact, that would be my first question to you, Kristine, is how much experience do you have?
I have been doing it for approximately 16 years.
Wow. How did you end up gravitating to headshot photography?
Well, my oldest child, when he was about 5, everybody kept telling me, oh, you've got to get this kiddo in acting. He's so dynamic, he's so personable, he would do really well. And so I took him to an agent, and they told me I had to get his headshots. And I was like, well, no, I'm pretty sure I can handle this. And they're like, no, you have to go to a headshot photographer. They specialize, they know what to do, especially with actors. You can't just do any kind of photography. This is not the backyard photography where you just click a portrait. There's got to be something more to it than just a pretty picture. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure I can handle this. So I totally went against what the agent said and went ahead and did my kids' headshots and took them in, and then she was like, well, who did these? These are wonderful. I haven't seen this headshot photographer's work. And I said, yeah, I disobeyed you. And the next thing you know, then she was, okay, this is great. We're going to refer you business.
Wow.
And I kind of credit it to just knowing how to work with the actors.
Okay.
Having actors in my own family, not anymore, but having them then, I was able to really see how directors work with actors and incorporate some of their techniques.
Well, that's great. And what should an actor do in looking for a headshot photographer?
First of all, look at their technical ability. Looking at their samples. Most photographers have websites so you can see what they do. Then you really need to ask around. I think personally, bedside manner of a photographer creates an environment to nurture and promote an actor's true inner acting to come forward and show on still photographs, and who will draw what they need out of them. That's really important.
And we haven't talked really about price, but is there a particular price that an actor should be expecting to pay for quality headshots?
I would say if you're paying over, depending on if you're doing how much per look, if you've got a makeup artist involved, if you don't have a makeup artist involved and you're just doing something like a 2-look sitting, if you're paying more than $350, $400, you're paying too much, in my opinion, for Texas.
Okay.
If you're doing that same sitting with a makeup artist involved, you're going to be paying probably double in price, just because you've got another person involved doing hair and makeup. If you're paying, I would say if you're paying total for a 2-look sitting with a makeup artist over $600 total, you're paying too much. That's my opinion. I keep my prices pretty mid-range because, first of all, I love doing what I'm doing. So it's not a job that I'm seeking to become a millionaire with. It's just something that I enjoyed doing, and so I keep my prices pretty reasonable.
Okay.
No, I'm not the lowest price, but I'm not the highest price. Also, I want to note, if you're paying a photographer like $150 to do a 2-look sitting, you get what you pay for. More than likely, there's a reason why they're charging that. Whether it's desperation or, they just don't have the skill level or the experience in it. I don't know, but that's probably a red flag.
Yet, and we also talked about doing makeup and hair, but I've heard from casting directors that they want you to look like the picture that you bring in. So how much should they be doing in a sitting with hair and makeup?
You cover your blemishes. Don't go too heavy on the eye makeup if you're a woman. I mean, keep neutral tones. You want to look as natural as you possibly can. And I will tell you, if you walk in and you don't look like your headshot, you might not be asked to come back to that casting director. Right. I've heard that happening.
Okay. I started in acting a long time ago, and so long ago that the headshots were black and white. So the headshot photography, the expectations by the agents and casting directors has changed and evolved over time. How have you kept up with the changes?
Oh, that is a really good question. I think the biggest thing is you get feedback from the casting directors. And no matter what the shifts and the changes are in the industry, whether a photo is going to be vertical or horizontal, whether you're going to have studio lights versus natural lights, whether you're going to have a colored background versus white or gray, whether or not you're going to have a bokeh effect in the back, outside or whatever. Honestly, the most important thing is that there are no distractions to cause someone to lose focus of your eyes and your face and the story you're telling behind your eyes. No matter what the shift is and changes and how things are done, that will still always be the number one most important thing. If they start looking somewhere else and they're looking at the background, they're looking at your clothes that you're wearing, they're looking at they're looking at other things, then I have failed as a headshot photographer. Your agent failed for choosing your headshots. And you have failed as an actor for not knowing that, I really have to make sure that the focus is on the story I'm telling behind my eyes. Okay. And so no matter what the trends are, it's always going to come back to that.
So when you're doing your headshot photography, you mentioned that you have a two-look kind of package deal kind of thing. What are we talking about, the two different looks? What does that mean? Looks.
Well, for me, the way I run my business is the two looks is just basically two changes in clothing. Okay. And when I say clothing, two changes in clothing, I mean your base layer. So you could have jeans on and a t-shirt, and then we might throw a couple jackets with it. And then your second look might, for a guy, be a suit look. And we might go on with the jacket, off with the jacket, ties, no tie, all that kind of shift. So two looks kind of turns into 4 or 5 looks. Right. And I usually try to do more than one background with each look, mainly because, I don't want to miss. I just plain old don't want to miss. I want to make sure that the agents are happy with what they get and that there's plenty usable headshots in there. Wonderful. So that's generally what it is. And also switching up, if appropriate, switching up hair. Hair creates a different mood and a different look and a different character. So that's something that we'll consult and figure out if that's necessary as well.
So I was told by one of my acting coaches that you really, before you get your headshot, should know your market. Would you say that's true? My headshot.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're not solid with your market, and you are represented by an agent, you need to ask your agent, how are you going to market me? Some people may be that smiley, happy, always bubbly type and might not have the deep-seated roots to do serious dramatic film. Mm-hmm. It would be a waste of time to do shots where I'm saying to you, okay, you're lonely, you're vulnerable, you're depressed. That's not how we're going to market that person. So we're going to focus more on, all right, this is Pine Sol. You can sell it. You can clean those floors. You know best. Yeah, so you really do need to know how you're going to be marketed. And if you feel you have the full range of being able to do commercial acting, sitcom acting, and then serious theatrical, we've got to get it all. Right. And that's really important to cover all of it. I don't find dress as much yes, it supplements and it complements the character and the look that you're trying to achieve, But honestly, you know, for example, I'm not going to have you wear a cobalt blue when we're doing a serious dramatic film shot. You know, we're going to stick with more neutral tones and more dark tones. You can wear blue, but just not like cobalt. Gotcha. And then if we're doing something commercial, I'm going to want it to be very bright and airy.
Okay.
You know, we're not going to have contrast lighting on that.
How can a working actor know that it's time to throw in the old headshots and get something new?
Well, if their headshots are old and they're tired of them, that's one clue.
Okay.
If their agent says, time to update,
okay,
that's another clue. And if you have a drastic change, like a drastic haircut, color, those kind of things, you definitely need to change. My test is if you go in the bathroom and you take your headshot and you stand and look in the mirror and then you hold your headshot up and you go, this looks like a different person. That's generally a warning sign that you need new headshots, because here again, the rule is when you go into an audition, you have to look like your headshot.
When you get pictures, the last step, or maybe not the last step, but certainly an important step, is to get them retouched. What does that mean, and what's involved in doing that?
If you're retouching for enhancing the color of the photograph, not you, but the photograph, and you're getting rid of flyaway hairs or a pimple that won't be there when you walk in the room or will be somewhere else, that's fine. If you're lightening dark circles under your eyes but not eliminating them, that's fine. Wrinkles, stay. You know, things that are characteristic to you, moles, those kind of things, they have to stay. I have seen some of the most atrocious retouching to where you look at the person and you're like, wait, is this the same person? Is this you? Keep in mind, these are not portraits to hang on a wall. These are headshots. This is a calling card. This is to substitute you in person. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to modify the things that make you you.
So here in Texas, this small state of Texas, we might have a different way of doing headshots than like LA or New York. First of all, is it different here? And if it is so, do you take pictures for actors that are trying to get to LA or New York City?
I shoot with the anticipation that the headshots will be going to New York and LA.
Okay.
I always shoot, because the way that the industry works now, it's become smaller and smaller because of technology. Okay. And so just because you're in Texas does not mean that you're not going to be submitted for a project in surrounding areas as well as New York and Los Angeles. So the headshots have to compete on that level, no matter.
So when you do a sitting, you're often faced with hundreds of photos. It can be kind of overwhelming. What should an actor do to choose the photo that they should use for their market?
Headshot choice is very, very important. Sometimes I don't think it's in the actor's best interest to pick their own headshot, because we see ourselves, or actors see themselves, in the mirror. And that's in reverse of what the headshot is. And so we have a different opinion of what we really look like versus somebody who's seeing you would see the headshot. So an agent's always going to be the best person to choose your headshot. If you're doing it yourself, you have to think about not necessarily the prettiest headshot or the most attractive headshot, but the headshot that tells the story. The headshot that has an intensity, a glare, a meaning, that's you just want to know what's going on in your head. That's the headshot to choose. And it's all based on an intensity.
And you had mentioned that, you know, as we all know, we're living in a digital world. You have to think about that little tiny photo as well as the big 8x10 that's going over to the agent or casting director digitally. Should an actor still have or still need to have copies printed?
Yes. I mean, you're still going to be required to bring a headshot in. you're not going to need to print as bulk as you used to print. I mean, I remember the days when you'd be printing 100 headshots, and that's what you would be sending in to agents as well. Nowadays, you're completely digital, but you still have to have a hard copy headshot for auditions. So you're going in there, and your agent might want a few too, so they can stick them up on the wall. But for the most part, casting directors are still working with the hard copy headshots because they're matching. And so they'll put headshots on the floor and start, playing cards with them, shall we say. And that's their way of doing that, to see. And here again, if you don't look like your headshot, your headshot's going to be removed from that pile, and you're not going to be put on the card playing table. Right. So that's why that's really important. But yeah, no, you still do need hard copies.
Hi, thanks for joining us here on Acting Texas. Once again, I was here with Kristine Canterbury, headshot photographer. Her main studio, much larger studio, is just south of Austin. She does have a satellite studio in Houston, and her hours in Houston are on her website. They're more limited than the one here in Austin. The one here in Austin is larger, has better lights, and more bells and whistles, and a great restaurant just down the street. So take a look at her website. The link will be down below. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.